Hi, welcome everybody. I am Cynthia Crowfoot. I'm an actor, I'm a filmmaker, I'm a producer, I'm a writer, and I am the host of the Q&A for the shorts, The Slice of Life, for the Oakville Film Festival. Yay, it's our 10th year. There's 101 films. It's an amazing film festival, and I'm really honored to be able to interview and ask a few questions of these amazingly talented filmmakers. But first, what I want to tell you is about the Audience Choice Awards. So you will have a chance after viewing the films, any film that you watch, to vote for your favorite. And every time you vote, your vote is put into a draw for a cruise. So the sponsors for our Audience Choice Awards cruise are Expedia Cruises of Oakville and Celestial Cruises, and they're giving away a cruise for two worth $10,000 for the Audience Choice Award person who wins. Every time you vote, you get a chance to win the prize. The cruise is 1 week long. It's for two people. It goes from Athens, Greece, through the Mediterranean, but just note, the flights to Athens are not included. So despite that, vote, because any one of these films is worthy of the award. So welcome everybody. I really enjoyed your film. So what I'm gonna have you do first is I'm gonna go across my screen as I see you and just talk to you a little bit about your film. And the first thing I want you to do is, so Emma, I'm gonna start with you. And I wanted you to just tell me a little bit about your film and what drew you to the project.
Yeah, so I did this film for my final thesis year at Sheridan. And I was kind of inspired by like Ernest and Celestine and like Winnie the Pooh and that kind of style of animation. And I just wanted to make something that was really fun and lighthearted. I knew I was going to be working on it for a whole year, so I didn't want to do anything that was too heavy. So I just wanted to be something fun. I wanted it to make me laugh while I was doing it, and I wanted the audience to laugh as well. So I hope I achieved that. But yeah, that was kind of the thought process behind that.
And so what was the most challenging aspect of the film for you?
I think the ideation probably for me, just kind of coming up with ideas that I thought would kind of wow people, or things that people would enjoy looking at. And then also just the time constraint as well, getting the whole thing done in a year. That was pretty difficult. And I would also say probably just like the backgrounds was a pretty huge undertaking, because that wasn't something I was super comfortable with before. I would say I'm kind of first and foremost an animator. So getting those kind of done and looking the way I liked them was the challenge.
Would you do it again?
Yes, absolutely. I would absolutely do it again.
Awesome. Yeah. And I guess the last thing for you then is, what is the one thing you would want people to take away after watching that?
I think I want people to kind of view it and think, it's okay to kind of make mistakes. I think, I made a lot of mistakes working on it. There's a lot of things I would do differently, which is, part of the reason why I would want to make a short film again, is because I think I learned a lot. And I think the whole theme of the film is kind of that childlike wonder. And, when you're a kid, when you kind of have less at stake, you can make those mistakes and people will kind of forgive you. So I think just don't be afraid to kind of get out there a little bit.
Okay, so then one last question. So you said, and this my mom and I are cross stitchers and sewers. So when she makes a mistake in her project, she'll go back, she'll rip the whole thing apart and she'll redo it. I'll look at it and figure out if anybody else is going to notice it and continue on. Do you think that anybody noticed what was wrong with your film, or was it just you?
It was probably just me. I think there were some things where I was like, okay, as long as I don't mention anything to anybody, nobody will know. So I kind of kept them as a secret. But
exactly, and that's how I feel about it. My mom wastes more time ripping stuff apart. Anyway,
yeah.
she's weird. Oh, thank you very much, Emma. I appreciate that. I very much enjoyed all of your films. I'm just going to say that up front. I enjoyed all of the films so that I'm not making you feel uncomfortable when I keep saying, oh, I really liked your film. The creativity that comes in short films to me is phenomenal. Like I love the short film structure because you can say so much in a short period of time. So bravo to you all. Sean, I'm going to move over to you next. Tell me a little bit about your film and what drew you to the project.
Yeah, so I have been working in the animation industry for 20 years and I was helping other people create their visions. And I just wanted to do something for myself and tell my own story and challenge myself. So I wanted to tell a story about an outsider who kind of struggles and has some confidence issues because those are things that I have dealt with and are very personal to me, especially growing up. So I wanted to represent that on film, and I wanted to have a joyous film, and make it a happy kind of thing, and not to give anything away for people who haven't seen it, but just
The Q&A will
have.
come after the films,
Okay,
so you won't give anything away.
great. So yeah, the end then, the ballet. I just wanted to wrap it up with the arts and how important the arts are in bringing us out and communicating and really coming into your own self through arts.
Because arts are where I was just having this conversation with a friend of mine the other day. It's where you drop the shield, you bare your soul, and you show it to people, which is a great way to connect with people, but it's also a really scary place to put yourself in when you do that. And were arts important to you as you were growing up, going through some of the similar things that your film depict?
Yeah, so it's not like completely autobiographical. I'm not a dancer, but just drawing and movie making and that kind of side of the arts was something that I could put my focus into and really kind of, hone my skill and feel like this is where I belong. And I kind of enjoyed that, and it kind of got me through some tougher times. So I just liked having that in the film where you have a character who just finds their place and has a community of people where they belong, and I think that's beautiful.
Did you find that community? You said that you've spent most of your career doing films for other people. Did you find that community through that work for yourself?
Absolutely. Going to film school, after high school, I was 18 and I moved across the country to Vancouver, and I was studying, and just being surrounded by a bunch of people who had the same experiences and kind of liked the same things, and it was just kind of to be surrounded by that all of a sudden. You're just like, wow, this is really special. And I wanted to get that feeling.
Well, it came across in the film. I like that. And I do find that, and it could just be me, but I find that with the arts, with film, when you focus on that common feeling of creating something, of making something, of collaborating, I find this tribe, this community to be a lot more forgiving than perhaps others. So I agree with what you're saying. I think that it's really important to find the people that speak your language and make you feel welcome and comfortable. So I really liked your film. I thought it gave a really strong message. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, Anthony, I'm going to move on to you.
Hi, Cynthia.
Hello. So your film, again, I start with the same question. I just want you to tell me a little bit about it. What drew you to the project? What did you hope audiences would take away from this film?
Sure. I produced Panic Attack, and it's about a young transgender teenager. And I suppose what drew me to it was because I'm not from that community. I'm very much placed on the outside looking in. And I worked in a public space for almost 10 years, our National Institute, Cinema Institute in Dublin. And I've kind of had a lot of interactions with lots of different kinds of people. It's in the center of the city, and it's a really eclectic space. It's a really important space, culture, community. We get to all kinds of different people from all over the world, in and out. I've met lots of people, a lot of different interactions, and I had one in particular. I wasn't having a great day. I was kind of in automatic, and somebody had come up to me and asked for the bathroom code. And I assumed from the timbre of their voice, I didn't even look up. I was looking at my screen, that I was going to be addressing a female. And when I looked up and into their face, into their eyes, I could see somebody had really put themselves out there and were in a really anxious, vulnerable place. And I suppose that's what drew me to the story. Those are feelings similar to what Sean was talking about, that I can understand, that I have experience of. And I suppose that's what made me take the first step to kind of understand what the transgender experience is, and how it's anxiety on a whole other level. And yeah, that's where it started.
That is amazing, and it's such a brave step for you to take, I think. And I guess my question is, it's difficult being outside of the topic of your film to be true to that topic, right? Have you been met with relative acceptance that you, being outside of that circle, are trying to better understand it, or has there been a little bit of resistance?
Sure. Luckily, only been acceptance.
Nice.
But of course, this is the festival run now, and more people are seeing it. So that remains to be seen. But response has been really good so far. I think and that comes from listening to the community and looking for their input, and having their eyes and ears on the script and the formation of it, to make sure that basically it's not based on what I've seen in cinema surrounding that community.
Sorry to interrupt, did you have a group of trusted individuals that you could go and kind of collaborate with or vet with, just to make sure that you were being true to the story?
Yeah, there was a couple of kind of organizations here in Ireland, LGBTQ plus based, and especially for the transgender community as well. So a lot of input from them, and they helped me put me in touch with people from the transgender community of all ages, so that they could read the script and I could meet them and we could workshop. And so I've been very lucky in that respect. Yeah.
So what would be, this is 3 questions. So what would be the most challenging aspect of the film for you, and what would be the most rewarding aspect of this film?
Sure. Yeah. The most challenging thing, I mean, I'm sure like the other filmmakers will agree, it's getting the film made from the moment from you have that idea, that concept, really realizing it, and I think it's easy to kind of, when you get the idea, you get that spark, creativity, to run with it, but then to finish. I mean, for me, it started in 2018 because the actor who I worked with is transgender, and he was transitioning, and also in college full time. So it took quite a long time, scenes here and there every couple of weeks. That was probably the most challenging. Yeah, I mean, it's blood, sweat, and tears all the way until you get it done. I mean, it's just under 14 minutes, but the hours, the days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what was the most, what made your heart sing the loudest when it was done?
Just the positive response, I suppose, and I learned so much, and I met so many amazing people that inspired me. I know it sounds like such a cliche thing to say, but you know, it was, I was always on the outside looking in, and here I got to really speak to people and learn from them and listen to them, and yeah, that was the most rewarding. Totally.
Nice. Well, thank you very much.
Thanks, indeed.
I got a lot from that film, so thank you very much.
I'm glad you did. Thank you.
All right, Michelle, I'm moving on to you now. Tell me a little bit about your film and what drew you to the project.
So my film Instant Noodle is about just kind of the Indonesian community in Southern California here in LA, and I got drawn there because I grew up in Indonesia all the way till college, and it's only recently like I encountered the supermarket in Rosemead in Pasadena where a lot of Indonesians gathered and kind of inspired the story, and they actually let me shoot there, and
Nice.
so that's just kind of I wanted to show kind of not a community how they kind of struggle with being separated from their homeland, especially if they grow up mixed race or never actually grew up in where their parents came from.
I think that's a theme for a lot of the films that I'm watching at this year's festival is the struggle to find community, the struggle to find your people, the struggle to find acceptance within a community when you're outside of it. So that's really amazing. How did you find that store? Did you just stumble upon it, or did you do a Google search?
I found it because my aunt actually goes there. She lives near the area, so she took me there one time, and I was like, "Oh, this is kind of interesting." And I've always also had this like obsession with my favorite instant noodle, Indomie. And so I was trying to contact them to see if I can do some project with them. So it just worked out.
That's
It does.
awesome.
Yeah.
Anything that's food based, I'm in. So was your aunt really supportive of the film? Was she on
Yes,
board?
she was very on board. She was actually the extra on the last closing scene and the dinner scene.
Ah,
And she was there. So she was in the process all through it.
now was she a good actor, or was she one of those actors?
I think she was a great extra.
So yeah, that movie was great. Now, so what is it you want people to take away from that? Is it again just the general feeling of inclusivity or finding your tribe? Because that's a big
I
theme,
think
like I said.
at first when I first sought out to make the movie, it was first like, oh, I wanted to be like finding your like what you are as a person separated from your parents and connected to it. But as it was specifically for being like part of the immigrant diaspora. But as I made it and as I rewrote it, it kind of changed, especially in dream production. It's almost like a coming of age for someone, anyone of any race, from their parent, and kind of gaining that independence while also at times being missing them if they're already gone.
I think that's a theme that people can relate to as well, right? Like across a broad spectrum. So, well, thank you very much. All right, and last but not least, Gabrielle.
Hello, can you
So
hear me all right?
I can hear you just fine.
Perfect.
So tell me a little bit about your film and what drew you to the project.
Well, I also did my film as my thesis project for Sheridan, but I had come up with the concept of it first year. I was driving home at like 2 a.m. In Canada. I'm from Pennsylvania. Driving home,
No,
I
so is my
see, yes.
family.
Oh no.
Steelers
Well,
fans.
I'm driving home. Yes. And I see a light in Canada or I see a house with their lights still on, and it is the fall, so they have been there all year or very early. And I thought about home because I grew up in very rural Pennsylvania, and as many know, the stereotype is to keep the lights on up all year. Very fun and cute. And I started thinking about home, and I'm like, oh, what a mean cliche. I think it's very pretty. And then the concept of the film sort of came into my head fully formed, well, the basic of it. And then I sat on it for 3 years. I did not touch it. I went through school, and then I pitched it. And my professor was like, what a neat concept. I'm like, okay, great. That was all the validation I needed. I'm going to go for it. And it started out as just this really cute, fun homage to home. And then it got more and more personal as the project evolved. And it just turned into a really cute finding home sort of love letter that I'm just really happy with the end result. But yeah, that's
Oh,
about
that's great. Yeah, I love that. I don't have my lights up. I take them down, but
it.
yeah, so do you have your lights up? I guess that's the question I want to ask.
Ironically, no. We actually almost never put Christmas lights up because my father hated it. But just the process of putting them. But I mean, all of our neighbors did, and the Christmas lights, and that's just where we were. And it was always my favorite. We'd always go on the light tours during the holiday season. Like people in my area it was an event. It was like a pageant of houses. It was amazing.
But it's nice how something like that, so again, I'm going to bring it back to community and finding your people and finding family. It's nice how something that seems so innocuous as lights can foster a feeling of family and closeness, and generate a feeling of warmth within you, or longing even for a home that you are away from. And I think that message is really key. Is that one of the messages that you wanted to send? Like, what is the message that you really want people to take away from the film?
I think there's a few things. I mean, one of my favorite parts about art is it's so subjective, and you can take from it what you need to take from it. For me, it was very much it became very reminiscent of my own experience, where I left the country to go to school, and I went hours and hours away to study something I was passionate about, and I had my fun. But it got to this point where I was like, I'm really missing home and where I was. And so it was a going home, but also finding home and feeling happy and comfortable there. I mean, the house at the end of the film was 3D modeled and then painted over of my childhood home where I grew up. So it was there's a lot of little, very personal things that I put in that no one but me and my family are going to see. But I think it makes it nostalgic and comfortable.
I think there's a lot of that in any film that you do. If any film's going to resonate with you, I think that you have to put things that are personal to you, whether it's the actual house, or it's the feeling and the emotion of what you have inside your heart. And that's what made all of your films really great, is that I felt that passion, that wanting to give joy or find community or help people to understand. I really enjoyed all of your films, and I thank you really a lot for being here today. It was a pleasure for me. And I'm just going to wrap up now and thank everybody for being here, and say, I hope you enjoyed the films, viewers, and don't forget to vote. Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody.